I'm sharing 3 cards using Spellbinders August Club Kits of the Month for 2025. I'm using the Glimmer Hot Foil, 3D Embossing, and the Large Die of the Month. Hey guys, it's Joy here. I'm going to share the large die of the month. You have this cute bag, so your goldfish could be in the bag. So there's all the pieces for that. There is seaweed and plants that will go in your fish tank or whatever. Sweet little goldfish. There's a sand castle. We have a sentiment, a fun clamshell with a pearl, and then a darling little mermaid. This is from the large die of the month. And then I have the Glimmer Hot Foil Kit. You get a couple sentiments. Of course, you get all those fun bubbles on that Glimmer plate, and then the 3D embossing folder. So I am starting off creating my backgrounds. I am using the stylish etched oval dies from Spellbinders, and I'm going to create a frame, and I also want the centerpiece. We're going to be using both of these for one of the cards. I'm going to do this again on a different color cardstock. This is the Teal Topaz cardstock, and I'm also going to be doing it for my Seaside cardstock. So I'm going to run that through my die cut machine. We have a nice frame, and we have our centerpiece. So here is that Seaside cardstock. I'm going to do the same thing. I just left my frames taped together with some mint tape. And then I'm going to run that through my die cut machine. Now I'm going to foil both of those. We're using the Glimmer Foil Kit of the month, and it comes with this fun silver sparkly foil, and we are going to foil our background with all of these fun bubbles. So I'm going to tape a little hinge at the top here just in case if I don't get a good foil image, I can just remove the other piece of foil, put a new piece in, and then just lay my plate back on top of my cardstock. So I'm not going to show foiling both of them because I'm doing it exactly the same, but I'm going to do this one and our Seaside cardstock one. So I'm going to put my plates on top. I have a little shim, and I'm going to run this through my die cut machine. And then when I pull this out, we can take off and reveal our cute and sparkly background. So let's peel that back. Look at all those fun bubbles. Is that not the most fun thing ever? I love it. Now these are going up, but that orientation of that card is going to be a little bit different, but I think it totally looked fine. Like I was totally fine with it. Then I'm going to foil my sentiments on the Teal Topaz cardstock from Spellbinders, and then there is coordinating dies for that I'm going to use to cut those out. So let me tape those in place. Some of these things, little things, I'm going to speed up because we have 3 cards that we're making. That way the video is not forever, ever long. Okay, run that through my die cut machine, and now we have our sentiments. Then I have a piece of A2 size white cardstock with the 3D embossing folder. I'm going to run that through my Platinum 6 die cut machine, and we are going to be using the debossed side because we're going to do, I think it's called the blackout technique. I think that's what it's called. But first I want to do a little quick ink blending of all these little fish in here. So I am using Distress Oxide inks in Spiced Marmalade and Dried Marigold. And I thought this would be fun to have these colored fish for one of our backgrounds. And I have to say, I love this background when it's all done, you guys. It is so fun. So I'm just taking a little tiny blender brush, just getting a quick color. I'm starting with the Dried Marigold for most of the bigger fish, and then I will do the Spiced Marmalade for the smaller fish. And I'm not worried if a little bit of that ink gets on the outside. You're not even going to notice that because we're going to bring in Deep Sea ink from scrapbook.com. It's a really deep dark blue, and we're going to run this over the top. And I'm not going to press hard, but I'm just going to keep running it over and over till I get a nice dark background. Some of the gills on the fish catch a little bit on the blue, and I really like how that looks. But look at how pretty that is. Look at how all of those fish pop. The bubbles are white, and then the little water lines are still white in there, which is cute. Okay, so now we're going to start coloring and putting together all of our die cuts. I have 2 goldfish. I have die cut from saffron cardstock, and then I am using some Olo markers, and you'll be able to see the caps here, what colors I am using. And I'm just doing some ink blending, easy, quick ink blending on colored cardstock. You don't have to color the whole thing. You can just color parts of it. So I wanted to add some darker areas to all of the goldfish fins. Then I'm going to add a little bit of shading to our darling little sandcastle here. I actually had die cut 2 of these, only ended up using 1, but then I have it for another project. And I grabbed the wrong color, so let me grab the right color. I had 2 brown colors, not from the same color family. And I'm like, what is happening? And then, you know, you have to read them and then you get it right. So I'm changing that up just a little bit and then blending that out. And I'm definitely going with I always want to bring in a really light color so it blends out the darker color that I'm using. And then once everything dries, it's a bit softer with the coloring, like it kind of fades a little bit. So having that nice lighter color really kind of helps with that. We have some well, seaweed, I guess, or whatever, ocean plants, water plants. I'm calling it seaweed. And I have done these in 2 different colorways. Well, same colors, just reversing. First, let me tell you the colors for the sandcastle of the paper. That is Fawn and Acorn from Spellbinders. The greens are Rainforest and Fern. Fern is that brighter green, Rainforest is the darker. Then we have fog cardstock because we die cut all the cute little rocks. Aren't they fun? You get 3 different shapes and sizes of rocks. I'm just going to add a little bit of coloring at the bottom. And this really is kind of, I'm going to call it sloppy coloring, kind of messy coloring. And it's totally fine on this darker or on colored cardstock because it really just blends nicely. As long as you're getting your colors close to the color of the cardstock, it will work out really nicely. Let's glue those pieces together and then we can work on our next thing. And I did want to mention that scrapbook.com is having their SBC Fest, which is a free virtual event, September 12th, 2025. And I am going to be an instructor that day. So you guys can watch my class. I will be chatting live. If you want to grab my kit or any of the other instructors' kits, there's 5 other instructors besides myself. I will have a link down in the description if that is something that you wanted to do. But either way, you can come join us because, again, it's a free virtual event. You will see lots of fun, inspiration, and it's really a lot of fun. And they do have giveaways, so it's a good time. I'm picking another color. Here is this darling little clamshell with a pearl. This is from Chiffon cardstock. I'm adding just a little bit of color. The pearl is from white cardstock, but we're going to add a little something to that later to make it fabulous. We have our little plants that have flowers. I did not do any coloring on the flowers because they were so little. I just wasn't worried about it. So we're going to glue those pieces together really quick. So I did speed this up because this does not need to go slow. And I'm using my Pick Pro tool just to get this in place. And then you have the little tops to our flowers, and I will be adding some pops of color to the centers of these. So our foiled sentiments, one of them says popping by to say hi. The other foiled sentiment says hope your day shimmers. And then there's a die cut sentiment that says make a splash. So we have all 3 sentiments for our cards. Let me finish getting these little guys on here. And then let's get our darling little mermaid together. I gave her brown hair because it makes me think of my daughter. My daughter loves purple, and so I'm going to add a little bit of purple. I added a little bit of shading on her face by her hair, but I'll be honest, I don't think it was dark enough for it to make a difference. So you really could leave that out. She has cute little pink cheeks that I die cut from Blush Cardstock. I'm going to come in and just add a little bit of shading to her fins, I guess, her little bottom half, with a darker and lighter blue, just kind of blending those out. I think I'm going to blend that out a little bit more here in a minute, adding a little bit of texture to her hair with a darker brown marker, but kind of in that same color family. And you can see that there's a hole that looks like seashells are in her hair. So there's a little piece that you die cut and put behind that. I did it in purple. Okay, so now we have her hair. I added a little bit of a micro pen, black pen to her eyes. We'll get her little bathing suit, that's what I'm calling it, on top, her little darling little cute little bathing suit. She is pretty cute. I'm going to add a little more detail to the scales. And then let's do a little bit of ink blending on the inside of our frame. So this is the Teal Topaz, and I'm using Mermaid Lagoon Distress Oxide ink for the inside. I'm not going to do it on the outside. Just a little bit of ink blending. And then on the outside of our middle insert piece, I guess is what I'm going to call it, our background piece. So just a little bit of ink blending. I like that look. I'm going to do the same thing for the other one with salvaged patina on the Seaside cardstock. So again, just the inside. And I'm using the little finger daubers, but that's not what they're called right now. Sponge daubers, that's what they're called. And a little bit on the outside here. Okay, so now that that's done, we can start putting this together. So I'm using A2 size card bases. I have 2mm foam adhesive. I'm going to remove the release paper off the top and then just follow this around my oval frame. I want this to be popped up, and that solid piece is going to be pushed to the back. My feel for these two cards is I really wanted to have that cozy feel of, like, I don't know, maybe that the fish or the mermaid are in a little tucked away part of the fish tank or the ocean. And so that was really my thought for that. I had a little bit of ink on the back of my cardstock because I was testing the color, and it was not dry, so that's why my adhesive was not sticking. So I added a little bit of a liquid adhesive to it, and then it was sticking. So now I'm going to put this in place. The second one I use liquid glue because it makes it easier to slide around if it's off just a little bit. But there's the centerpiece. How cute is that? And let's put this together. So I already laid out my images because I have to do that ahead of time, but now I'm going to glue these together. Some of this, like the plant life in the water, is going to be on top of the frame. Some of it's going to be tucked into the frame. Some of it's going to be on the front of the frame. I think when you have something like this with a dimensional frame to it, you can get away with that, and it looks really, really good. It adds all kinds of depth and dimension of how far things are back and what's forward. And so play around with that on your cards, because it really is a lot of fun to have elements, you know, in different areas of your card like that. I'm gonna tuck these rocks in. I think these rocks are really cute. And then we have another plant there. That little sand castle is so darling, but I love sand castles. Super, super cute. And these club kits, the sign up for new club members to get these kits is from the 6th to the 27th of each month. So if you are not a club member and you love these, grab them up. They are just so much fun to work with, and really, really, they are worth the money for sure. I'm going to add 2mm foam adhesive for my sentiment, and it says popping by to say hi. And then I'm going to use a white gel pen to add details to all of the greenery, to the sandcastle and the fish. This just adds a little something extra some little bright spots. It just, I don't know, it really does brighten up your images. Not that every image needs it, but these definitely benefited from that. And they are really, really cute. Okay, let's go to our next card. We are going to do this in a different orientation, as you can see, but still the same ovals. Here I'm using liquid glue because it just makes it easier to slide your little centerpiece where you need it to be. And this is going to be the home of our darling little mermaid. And this sentiment says, "Hope your day shimmers." And I'm going to add 2mm foam adhesive behind that and place that at the top. And this is the same thing. I'm going to have one of those flowers adhered on the outside of the frame, and then some of these leaves and flowers will just overlap. Even though they're tucked in on the inside of the frame, they're going to hang out over on the outside of the frame. And then we have that cute seashell with the pearl. We're going to tuck that on an angle. I did have it centered, but I just did not like the way it looked. I'm not a super symmetrical person when it comes to my card designs, and it was a little too symmetrical for me, and I just did not love it. So I'm going to add some 2mm foam adhesive behind the flowers on this one. This is the one that's going to be adhered to the outside of the frame, but also goes inside of the frame. And then 2mm foam adhesive behind our mermaid. She's so cute. I love the movement that they have with her hair and just the way her body is. So I'm going to have her on a little bit of a tilt, and it is just so cute to me. And then let's place her down in there. I'm going to add white pops of color to the insides of the flowers, and then I'm using snowflake pops of color for the pearl. It's a clear glitter, and it is perfect for that little piece there. And then we're going to finish up on our third card here. Completely different card design and layout, but really a lot of fun. Let me add some highlights to the greenery. I did not add any to the flowers, a little bit to the seashell, even though you don't see a whole lot of it. Of course, to our cute mermaid, and some in her hair. And then that one is just so cute. So cute. Okay, let's put together our little plastic bag for our goldfish. This is the tie at the top die cut from Seaside Cardstock. I am using a light blue marker, Olo marker, on the back of our vellum. I die cut every piece of the bag from vellum. This is this piece, and the bottom piece is the only thing that I colored. Oh, and the water line. Now, I probably could have done a darker color because I'm going to be honest, you can't even see this, so there wasn't really even a point in me doing it because the background is so dark. I wasn't even thinking, I was just going with it. So really, you could leave this out. Now, because everything is vellum, we have to hide our adhesive. So I'm adding little tiny dots at the very bottom there where we're going to place the top parts of our bag. The tie is going to go over that, so you're not even going to notice the liquid glue. But if you're going to do it in spots that could be seen, do the tiniest little bits. So that's what I'm doing here in the corners, the tiniest little bits. And then I'm going to place that down on the bottom. There's our water line. I'm not even going to glue that to the back yet. I'm actually going to add 1mm foam adhesive behind my goldfish here. That's what's going to attach that water line. You could also do a little bit of liquid glue behind it, but to me, this was just the easiest way to go about it. So I'm going to line that up where it fits, line up my goldfish, press him down, and then we're good, because that piece on top, I'm going to have to adhere to the back piece. So I'm going to hide my liquid glue behind my darling little goldfish there, and then I can pop this guy into place. And then let's place our tie down. That's going to cover up those little dots of glue at the top there. Isn't this so cute? I think this little bag is so cute. And then some foam adhesive one more time because I want the bag popped up off of the background. So I'm going to put those in the places that it can be hidden, and I'm going to put this on an angle. We have the sentiment that says, make a splash that is die cut from Teal Topaz cardstock. I'm going to place 3 little rocks here in the bottom of his bag. And then I do have some greenery that we're just going to place around because it just adds a little something extra to the design here. All right, so let's get this last little rock in place. And then I'm going to place my sentiment over the bottom there. And then we will add our greenery. And of course, we're going to bring in our white gel pen after we put those in place. I'm just using my reverse tweezers to hold that in place with that liquid glue because it does want to slide around a lot against vellum until it's dry. So I'm going to put that in place and then use my white gel pen for highlights. And this will be adhered to a white A2 size card base as well. And then we can take a look at all 3 of these cards up close. And I think these turned out so fun. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I just think the goldfish in the baggie is the cutest thing ever. And his little fin is sticking out of the top like he's a little shark. Maybe I should have made him for Shark Week, right? And then we have our darling mermaid. Look at all that foiled background. It's so pretty. All the pretty flowers, all that pretty underwater stuff. I love it. Of course, a seashell. And then our little goldfish, maybe in his little tank with his sandcastle. Okay, guys, we are all done. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate you guys watching. If you like this video, thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment, share. I appreciate all of those things, and I hope you guys have a really wonderful day.